So hello there, this is Lisa over at Soulful Spinning, and today I want to show you how I spin on a Turkish spindle. Turkish spindles are one of my favorite ways to make yarn. I want to share with you some of my spindles in my collection and then give a demonstration on how to get started spinning on a Turkish spindle. So let's get started. So Turkish spindles come in all different sizes, from the very, very tiny spindle. This is a tiny spindle from Enid Ashcroft, to the very large. This is a Snyder spindle. So from this tiny, tiny little spindle here to this very, very large spindle here, both of them work pretty much in the same way. When you buy a Turkish spindle and it comes to you, it will most likely come to you in pieces. The pieces will be consist of the shaft and the two crossbars. One of the crossbars will have a slot and the other one just has a hole. To put your spindle together, you take the slimmer piece and insert it into the larger slot so that the holes are aligned, and then you take the shaft and you place it from bottom to top. And that's it. You've got your tiny little spindle. What's nice about a spindle of this size is that it's very, very portable. I have one that I keep at work in a little Talenti jar. This one is a little spindle that's pretty much the same size. So very, very portable. You can just stick your fiber in here and have it at your desk and be ready to spin at any time. So Turkish spindles are also very nice for travel. The other nice thing about a Turkish spindle is the type of cop that it creates as you're spinning. Here's an example of a project I'm working on. This is another spindle by Ian Tate, and I'll talk a little bit about my favorite makers in just a little while. But what's neat about a Turkish spindle is you get this very pretty effect if you wind it on carefully, which I'll show you how to do in just a moment. You get this very pretty figuring in the, this is called the turtle. This is where the yarn is stored. Once you're finished spinning, you can remove the cop quite simply by simply taking the shaft out, taking the slimmer piece out, and then the other piece. So now you have your spindle in pieces and you have your nice center pull ball. So if you keep track of the center where you started your spindle, you can ply from the inside and the outside at the same time. It's one of the things that people really like about Turkish spindles. So next I want to show you how you can get started. So your spindle comes to you like this. You put it together. I'm just making sure that I got the sound on. Yeah, I do. So you put it together and you want to get your fiber started. So how do you go about doing that? I'll post a couple of links below that you can check out. There's a few videos on YouTube that show various ways in which you can get your spindle started. But what I typically do is I take my roving and I simply start to gently draft out and then spin with my finger away from my body. And I've already formed a little bit of yarn here, and then I'll draft out some more, and I'll continue to do that. Another thing you can do is place it in your lap, and you can roll it. So, but I just typically just twist. It's pretty secure. And now I've got my leader. I might, if I want more, again, I'm just going to twist with my fingers and pull out a little bit more fiber out of my fiber supply. And now I have a nice length of yarn to get started. So I take my yarn And on my spindle here, I have a indentation, which is nice and convenient for you to wrap your yarn around a couple times. And then you can keep track of your center. When you're done with your winding, you can take it off and you can find your center, your beginning of your yarn. So then we're going to go over 2 and under 1, and we're going to go over 2 and under 1, and over 2 and under 1. And now I do a backward loop or a half hitch to secure my yarn at the top of my spindle. So my yarn is here. I just rotate and put it on there. It's very similar to a backward loop cast on if you're a knitter. Just loop it on there. And now you're ready to spin. How you wind a Turkish spindle is really up to you. You can really do it any way that you like. But one way to do it is to go over 2 and under 1, over 2 and under 1, over 2 and under 1, and so forth. And then again, you can use your thumb to secure your yarn at the top of your spindle, and you keep spinning. Another way that you can wind your yarn on your spindle, I will show you here. So if you notice, this one is more of a ball shape, and it doesn't have that over 2 under 1 patterning. So for this one, what I'm doing is, once I spin and get a length of yarn, instead of going over 2 under 1, I'm just making a ball. I'm just going around the top, and then underneath and around the top. So just like you're winding a ball of yarn. And it's just a quick and easy way to get your yarn onto the spindle without messing around with the over 2 under 1. So I'll show you that again. You're just going round and round and round. And then after you've done a number of rotations, you can turn, go under an arm. Let's create some more yarn here so I can show you. So I was over here, I was going over 2, and now I'm done with that piece, so I'm going to go under 1 bar, and now I'm going to go over this way on this side. Now I'm sitting and spinning, so I'm not getting a very long length of yarn to rotate. I'll stand in a minute and show you how you can really get a long piece of yarn if you're standing. Turkish spindles are really nice if you want to sit and spin. Okay, so here's the spindle that I started just a moment ago, and I'm going to show you how you can spin standing up. So I've got some yarn here, so I'm going to use my thumb and do a little half hitch loop, and it catches right in the groove of your spindle. Okay. So here we go. So I'm doing a worsted draw here. So let's talk about how you get your spindle in motion. Let's wind some of this on for a moment. Again, my half hitch, I usually use my right hand or my left hand. So what I do is I twirl like this. So I go in a clockwise direction and get my spindle moving. And now I'm going to do a short forward draw. What's nice about spinning with a spindle is you can do it when you're standing up. I like to spin in the summertime when I'm not working because it does get me out of a chair and gets me moving around. Okay, so this is how you do a short forward draft with a spindle. You pull out and slide, pull out and slide, pull out and slide, pull out and slide. And then once my spindle has stopped spinning, I pinch the twist where the yarn meets the fiber supply. I pinch that with my finger and butterfly the yarn till I get to the spindle. I flick off the yarn off the tip. I do my wind on. Again, that's over 2, under 1, over 2, under 1, over 2, under 1, so forth and so on. And then again, I'm going to half hitch, rotate, and again, short forward. You can also spin woolen with a spindle, which I'll show you next. Or with a long draw. So here I have my hitch again. So now I'm going to set it in motion. And now I'm just going to pull out my fiber, and as I do it, I'm holding the yarn horizontally. And then you just do your draft. You can even double draft. So this way you can get quite a lot of yarn made much quicker than with a short forward draw. So let me demonstrate that again. Again, I try to keep the fiber out of the way of the spindle. Give it a twist, and then let the yarn just travel up, and you sort of hold the yarn horizontally. And now I'm going to spin it again. And so that's what happens if it gets caught. So it's a good idea to get some sort of something to contain this off on the side. I use a distaff, which I'll show you a distaff in a minute here. So again, what I'm doing is I'm holding it horizontally and I'm just drawing out the fiber. And this one spins and spins and spins. Now I've got a long length of fiber. Butterfly to the tip, flick off, wind on. Try to keep the yarn under tension here, because if you don't keep it under tension, it will get tangled. So another tool that I find very useful to have is a distaff. So this is my distaff. It's a loop. It's got a bead. It's got a little disc here, and then it's got like a weight here. This has also got a wraps per inch tool. And I will link below to the Etsy maker that I bought this from. So this is what it looks like. And what you do is you wrap your yarn around this piece, and it keeps the yarn out of the way of your spindle when you're spinning. So I took my piece of roving here, it's a piece of a bat, and I gently rotate it around the string, like this. And now you have it so it's out of the way, and you can put it on your wrist or higher up on your arm. And now I've got my fiber ready to go, and then it won't get stuck in the spindle. So here's my spindle that I showed you before. When you're running out of fiber, what you want to do is you want to leave a little bit of fluffy bit at the end so that it'll be easier to join the new fiber. So for this, I just do my half hitch, and then I lay my fiber along the yarn, and I give it a twist, a twirl, and then I let the yarn catch the new fiber. And now I have one strand. I'm doing this with a short forward. My spindle is still spinning, and now I butterfly and flick off. And for this one, I'm not doing the fancy wind on, I'm just going over. And now I can get started again, and you can see that the yarn is out of the way. Butterfly, flick off, wind on. One I talked about a little bit a moment ago, and that is Ian Tate at the Wood Emporium. He's in the UK at the Isle of Wight, and he makes, this is his signature spindle shape with this curved profile, and it's beautifully turned. He makes them in beautiful variety of woods. This is canary wood. Here's another one made out of pink ivory. Here's a heavier spindle of his. This is made out of snake wood. And this one's got weights, brass weights. Here's yet another one of his, is an even larger one. This is made out of bog oak. Bog oak is ancient oak that was buried under the bogs, and they dig it up and they dry it and they use it to make beautiful objects, and this is an example of that. This is a nice heavy spindle. It's nice for plying or for thicker singles. Let me move these out of the way here. Here's another one made out of rosewood. And a nice, light, beautiful spinner she is. So of all the spindles, I think I have mostly his in my collection. And this is a favorite. This is made out of yew wood. So yew wood is what they used to make the bows out of. And it's a beautiful, it's got beautiful figuring in it. Just beautiful. Nice. And then here's another one. So this one's in pieces. This is made out of tulip wood. And if you read about Ian, he was I forget what the name is, but he was trained to make violins. So his work is just, you know, spectacular and beautiful. He was selling a few of them on Etsy, but I haven't seen him post any for a while. You can contact him through the Wood Emporium. I will include links below. And it might take a little while for you to get your spindle because he does make them to order. He ships them in a very secure container, and you won't be disappointed. You can also get a hold of one of his spindles from the Woolery, and I will again give links below to all the sources for this particular spindle. Another favorite maker from the UK is Enid Ashcroft, and she's a one-woman show and a wood turner. She sells on Etsy, and here's an example of her work. She makes a lot of different variety of sizes, and if you go to her website, she'll give a detailed description of each of the sizes that she sells. So this one is made out of yew wood, and you can see it's got a different, it's very unique. She does not put the groove here. So she just does a gentle indentation, which is really nice because it's super easy when you're going ahead to flick off your yarn. It's just super easy to get off of there. I don't like a real big bulbous piece at the top there because that can make it harder for you to get the yarn off. So a couple other examples of her work. Here's one. Now I'm going to show you how you take the cap off here with this one. This is one of her larger spindles. I'm spinning some Inglenook fiber. I think it's Scotland Blueface Leicester silk blend. And so to take off your cap, you pull out the shaft. Now sometimes it can get stuck, but all you have to do is just press it and it'll come right out. And now I'm going to pull out the slimmer piece and now the larger piece. And there's your turtle. So neat. So she does spindles with different types of wood, and sometimes she'll laminate two different types of wood. This is one of her boardwalk Turkish spindles. It's got two colors. And then sometimes she makes them just out of simple woods as well too. This is just all one color. So I'm starting another cap of that same fiber here. These two are very similar in weight and size, and so sometimes if I'm doing a project, I'll just pick two spindles that are similar in weight and size and then ply those two together. She makes teeny tiny spindles also, which here's an example of one that's very, very small. I don't know what I did with the other one. So yeah, so those are just a couple of examples of her work. And then the Turkish spindles that everybody desires and tries to get, to me, it seems, are the Jenkins Turkish spindles, which are really, really hard to get a hold of. But I was fortunate enough when the Woolery first started carrying the Jenkins spindles to order a couple from their website. So I was able to get 3 of these spindles, and they are beautiful. This one is a finch. This one is a lark. And this one is an Aegean, which I think is my favorite. It's just the size that I like. And I'm spinning some tussa silk on this one. So if you can get a hold of their spindles, those are also highly recommended. But again, they're very, very difficult to come by. This is from a man out of Canada. His name is Wayne Capar. And the name of his shop is Natural Not Wood. And so here's an example of his work. And I really like his spindles a lot. They're really beautiful. I think they're very affordable, and they're accessible. Like, you can actually buy one. You don't have to wait for an update. And, you know, it's just that those Jenkins spindles are almost impossible to find. So I highly recommend Wayne Capar's spindles as well. So this one's made out of maple, and I think that this is ebony. A couple other examples of his work. Here's one also. He likes to use maple for the shaft. This is tulip wood. It's a very, very nice spindle. And let me see, I think I've got, oh, this one here. This one is one of his beauties. This wee tiny thing here. I think he says that it fits in his wife's eyeglasses case. Another maker on Etsy that you might check out if you're interested in getting a Turkish spindle is Snyder Spindles. I have one of his spindles. I only have one of his spindles, and it's this one, this huge one here. But I know he does make a variety of sizes now, and they're also highly regarded and very nice spindles and very affordable. And his are kind of cute because they have, let me show you this one. If you take it apart, he'll put these cute little cutouts. These are little sheep. So I kind of couldn't resist that one because of the sheep. Though I do not tend to use this spindle just because it is so large. But he makes very nice spindles also. And he also has a YouTube channel too where he talks about his making. So I hope this gave you some a good introduction to Turkish spindles and a few of the favorite makers that I have. Are there any Turkish spindle makers that you know of that you would recommend? If you do have one, if you could comment below. Also, if you have any questions or suggestions for future episodes for Soulful Spinning, I'd love to hear from you. And until next time, Soulful Spinning, take care.